The reason I bought the Redarc Brake Controller was because I wanted a brake controller that was more hidden. In the past I've had the Tekonsha brake controllers, which are wonderful brake controllers, but I didn't really have a good place to mount it in my new pickup, and I didn't really want it hanging under the dash. So the Redarc controller is all hidden except for the knob that adjusts the amount of braking effort. So the Redarc brand is actually an Australian-based brand. It is a little more expensive because it was over $200 to get this brake controller. It came out good after it was all done, so it's all hidden except for the knob. The installation went pretty well. I took out one of the little vacant rectangular plugs in the instrument panel and made the hole for the knob and switch to come through. That way I didn't actually have to drill any holes in the dash itself. All the components are behind the dash. When you get the Redarc though, it does not come with a harness that plugs directly into a Toyota. So I'd actually bought a Tekonsha harness and cut off the brake controller end and soldered it so that I did have a plug-in installation. Yeah, so after using it, it seems to work perfectly fine. I don't see any problems with it. The knob's easy to adjust if you have too much or too little braking on the trailer. This panel just pops out carefully. I'm going to put the brake controller knob right in this location. So this comes out. I can drill the appropriate hole in this piece for the brake controller knob. So if you ever take it off, you can just put one of these in there. So the Redarc brake controller does not plug directly into a Toyota harness. It just comes with 4 bare wires. So what I'm going to do is I bought a Tekonsha harness for Toyota. Which plugs directly into the Toyota. I'm going to cut this off and splice these together to make one harness that just plugs in directly. This vehicle, since it has the factory tow package, has a connector built into the left front kick panel that this plugs into. So you don't have to splice wires, it's all plug and play. So what it is this is a Tekonsha brake controller end. This is a Redarc controller end. They're different. So this will not plug into the brake controller we're using. I just want this harness so it can plug directly in. We decided not to use the Tekonsha brake controller, even though we love it in our other car. There just wasn't a good place to install it in this vehicle. So I'm going to cut this end off. It goes to the Tekonsha brake controller, which we don't have. And I'm going to solder these on so I can make my own harness. So that's the pre-existing connector on the truck for trailer brakes. And I'm just going to put this in there, like so. Splice into here, and it'll be ready to go. So I have to get all the webbing out of the back of this plug that came out of the dash in order for the switch to fit in there properly. So what I'm finding on this switch barely fits in there. It's a pretty exact fit. So the center knob is not going to be in the center of this. It's going to be a little offset. That way everything can fit in there. Just trying to size the drill bit for this. It says a 10mm, but I don't have metric drill bits. Okay, once I get the hole for the switch lined up, I have to drill a little smaller hole for the LED to stick through. I'm going to cut off the Tekonsha style connector, and in its place I'm going to put the new one on. So you just got to plug this cable into the back of the switch. Tuck this all back in. Just plug the harness in. Tuck it in, the excess. Okay, so I had to mount the brake control box. Has to be mounted solidly. So I found an existing hole next to the steering column that wasn't going to interfere with anything. So I used a bolt, nut, and a big flat washer. And that secured it for the most part. And then I used a nylon tie at the top so that it can't rotate. Once I had that secure, made sure it wasn't going to move, I was able to plug the leads into each end of it, one to the switch and one to the wiring harness connector for the Toyota.